When I ask you what's the best anime ability, what comes to your mind? Some would say Limitless, Wonder of You, Aoki's look away technique. And as good as all of them are, there's just something that's missing from them. Something that's keeping them at being one of the best and not the best. Just hear me out. What if in order to use their abilities, they had to do some fan service crap in order to power it up? Oh my, what an idea that is. Sadly, it just doesn't exist. Alright, so surprisingly, this anime, The Hidden Dungeon Only I Can Enter, wasn't recommended by fans or something I saw on Reddit. No, this was actually something I caught my sister watching. No, she is not a fan of this. She's just a fan of fantasy anime, happened to read the manga, and was curious about the anime. I saw her watching the anime, and despite only seeing like 2 or 3 minutes of the anime, I couldn't help but mention how trash it was. And she completely agreed. Matter of fact, that was her last episode, but then she had the gall to tell me to make a video on it. And as much as I would have wanted to refuse, the bills say otherwise. Now, despite me only seeing 2 or 3 minutes, it showed me a lot of what the story's all about. Fan service, Gary Stew, fantasy world, all that sounds bad, but maybe I'm just judging a book by its cover. So with that in mind, I'm just gonna read a couple of manga chapters until I can't handle it anymore. Hopefully, those couple of minutes of the anime did not do it justice. We start with our main protagonist exploring a dungeon, and as he's traversing the area, a voice calls out to him, leading him to its location. And even though he knows it could be a trap, he goes to it anyway, since he's already come all this way. And what does he find? A trap? A monster? No, it's something far worse. He finds a woman! She asks him to touch her head, that way she can show her backstory in detail. She explains how when she was exploring this dungeon, she defeated a monster in that very room, but that set off a trap, and now she's been stuck there for 200 years. How she hasn't gone insane is never explained, though had it been me, I just think about Tottenham losing to keep myself entertained. Oh my god! Anyways, he can't free her, because if he cuts the chain, she'll die, somehow. She then asks him about himself, where we get a name, Noir, and he proceeds to explain why he's there in the first place. He was supposed to work a librarian job, however, people higher up in nobility have stolen his job! The reason being that they're the lowest class of nobility, and as such, they're viewed as phonies and are discriminated against by the other nobility. His sister suggests taking the hero exam as a way to build up rep, but even then, there's just no way he can pass it. Now, even if we take classism into consideration, why would you steal brother's job? A librarian job, no less. Heck, this is a fantasy world, so the best part about libraries, don't even think about it. So why on earth would you subject yourself to the most mind-numbingly boring job you could find? What a lovely way to introduce your gooner female lead. Show some actual depth? Brother, the only depth we care about are those money makers! Yeah, so apparently Noir's job was stolen because whoever stole it wanted to work with her, Emma. And practically every time she's on screen, the manga has to flaunt her character. She apparently has some good news regarding his ability that he conveniently has. His ability, Great Sage, conveniently gives you the answer to anything, even things that are unknown, conveniently. But oh no, he can't use it because every time he does, he gets a big headache. Man, if only there was a convenient way to allow him to use his convenient Gary Stew ability. Wait, maybe that good news she has allows him to use it. Oh, I wonder what clever loophole the author has for us. Brother, I might actually lose it. The mangaka thought of this, drew it, published it, and at no point did he think, dang, that's so stupid. Wait, what am I saying? Of course he didn't, because he did all that one-handed! So yeah, because the mangaka couldn't be bothered to think of something better, this is how he's able to use that busted ability. And he could have at least done one kiss equals an entire session of his ability, but no, one kiss equals one question. And of course, he's gotta put detail into these freaking kisses too, but brother, I do not need to see them swapping spit! Through the help of the stupid loophole, he uses his ability to find a hidden dungeon, supposedly the fastest way to getting strong. Also, a single person? Brother, you could fit a freaking horse through that hole! You'd have to be a mountain of a man, aka a fan of this manga, to not fit through that! Anyways, to get inside, he must state an incantation, and instead of something that sounds wise, it looks like he's just begging the dungeon to let him in. A hidden dungeon only I can enter. Let me train in secret to become the strongest in the world. Pretty please. Also, seriously? This stupid incantation is the name of the manga? Look, you know your target audience, why don't you just title it a name that fits? Something like, the source to my power is what? After some unnecessary fan service, really unnecessary fan service of Olivia, she offers to give him her powers and skills. And with one tap of their heads, he has now inherited all her abilities, or rather all the strong ones according to Olivia. And if that great sage ability wasn't enough to Gary Stewify him, these abilities are more than enough. He has an ability that allows him to create any skill he wants, one that allows him to bestow abilities onto others, and an ability to rewrite a skill belonging to him or anyone else. No adversity, no trials and tribulations, he just conveniently gets the most busted ability in the verse. Lovely. Yes, he's gonna have to learn how to use them, but hello, he's got a teacher that's at least 200 years old right there. Apparently, his powers and life now run on LP, but fortunately, he can generate more through acts of pleasure. He can just eat good food, spend some good money, heck, she says happiness, so frolicking through some flowers should do the trick. But why do any of that when you can be a complete freak and engage in softcore porn? He tries out his new busted abilities to kill a slime, but now he's worn out and must gain back his LP. Alright, I gotta calm down. I know what I signed up for, it's a freaking Gooner bait manga. At least it ain't like the previous anime manga I reacted to. Like, yes, they're all Gooner bait, but at least the Gooner bait here isn't minors and there's no incest. Brother, I've yelled enough already. Expressions, can you say what's on my mind?
Oh my god! Are you fucking kidding me, blood?
Emma meets up with Noir in very revealing clothing that has given me extra work. So if this is taking a while to release, blame her and her moneymakers. Emma complains about how everyone stares at her chest and it makes her want to hide it, which causes Noir to reveal the fault in her logic since she's wearing the Kazanga outfit. And she gets really offended by that, since I guess she was wearing that all for him, I don't know. Then he asks her for a hug, partially because he wants the LP, and also partially to give the target audience more goon material. But whatever, now he has enough LP to create a skill that allows him to see the data of living things and objects, and so he decides to test this on Emma. And it works as intended, as he can see all the details he'd need to know about- wait, how old is she? Why is this a freaking constant? Why do they have to make Gooner beta freaking minors in every anime manga video I make? Does that say something about me? Am I gonna need to go see a therapist soon enough? Even if I do, why do they always have to make their characters minors? Make Gooner beta of adults? Lame! Making it of 16-year-olds is the way to go! We need a specific audience! If any of you take this out of context, I swear to fuck. We then get a little scene of Noir taking away Emma's things to free up her shoulder pain, and then giving it back when she gets mad. And after that, you wanna guess what else we get? If you guessed more slop for the fans of this sorry excuse of a manga to goon to, you win nothing because the answer was f***ing obvious! Anyway, she gets mad at him for not wanting to include her in his dangerous life, but he just wants to protect her or whatever. And now the day of the entrance exam for the Hero Academy has arrived. I wouldn't blame you for forgetting his entire freaking goal after all that BS we just went through. Anyways, they have to bring back monster material, and their points depend on how much they bring plus the rarity, and they must be in groups of 3 or else they fail. But unfortunately for Noir, no one will team up with him because he's a baronet and not real nobility like the rest of them. Before I continue on, let me just mention something. Over here, he says everyone here is genuine nobility, but then over here, it says there's commoners along with the nobility. So why don't you just find a commoner? No doubt they're getting ignored by the nobles. It'd be so messed up, yet funny if the reason he doesn't seek them out is because he too is a classist. It's a cruel world. Noir can't find anyone to team up with. At this rate, he'll never pass the hero exam. Convenient things have been shaping this entire manga. There's gotta be another moment of convenience to help him out. There it is. Emma quit her librarian job to be with Noir and help him on his journey. And since she's of respectful nobility, someone else joins their group. Not without dissing Noir though. Oh boy, is this one of those times where he proves someone who doubted him so wrong? Man, it'd be such a satisfying scene to watch. Had he freaking earned it! Noir's battling a dead reaper to collect monster material for the exam, but before we can see how that ends, we have to go through a little flashback. They realize the examiner never specified how to get the monster material, and so the rich, like their third member, are simply buying monster material. This then leads to a little commentary about society and how the rich and poor have their lives decided the moment they're born. This would have been a bit more impactful had our protagonist not been a Gary Stu and literally gifted a bigger advantage than any of the Nepo babies could buy. Oh, but you didn't think about that, mangaka, huh? No, too busy drawing Gooner bait of teenager! They run into a kid that's begging them for some money, and while nobles like their third member would choose to ignore him, Emma's different and wants to help. Though that help is unfortunately for nothing as a grown man robs the kid. Noir sees this as an opportunity to improve his abilities and uses an upgraded version of the stone bullet thing to stop the thief. Now, the kid can get his money back. Poor kid though. Only one leg to stand on. Nothing they can do about that though. Yes, Noir can give him a brand new leg or something to stand on, but he's got far more important things to use his LP on. Back to the Dead Reaper fight, he uses a knockoff version of Echo's 3 freeze to stun the Reaper, which then allows him the chance to take it out with his stone bullet. And what do you know? The Dead Reaper material is so rare that they win the hero exam by a landslide. Oh, and also Olivia, his teacher, wants him to take advantage of her or something. Messed up fantasy aside, isn't she at least over 200 years old while he's 16?
You want to explain yourself?
Noir goes to join an adventurers guild to get some money, since the entrance fee to the Hero Academy is 300,000 in their world's currency. Emma isn't with him, but don't worry, Gooners, the mangaka made a brand new fan service machine for you guys to have fantasies over. We also get a flashback that shows he let third member take all the credit for his work, since nobles are more likely to believe one of their own did it. Then, we see that he gains LP just from completing the exam, as it fulfilled an ambition. Which confirms what I said earlier, he could just be a nice, decent guy, pet dogs, help the homeless. Hell, he could bake a cake, but instead they'd rather make him drown himself in teenage cakes! He has to write down his skills and abilities in his application form, but when Lola sees what he writes down, she gets agitated, thinking he's lying. The reason why she's so agitated is because Olivia actually used to be a part of that guild, and of course mimicking one of their legends is offensive. She pulls out a little tome that reveals one's abilities, and she's so confident that he's lying, she says she'll do... What girl would actually say this? Noir, the sick, twisted freak he is, gladly lets the tome reveal his abilities and demands she do what she just said. I completely understand being true to your word, but you don't have to disrespect yourself to a complete stranger. Just do something else. Oh my goodness! What on earth am I reading? Why the hell would anyone draw this? Why did they draw her crying? Did they not realize the implications? Oh, and the cherry on top? Now she likes him. This is becoming a stupid harem? Nah, man, I'm done with this crap. Screw the mangaka, screw the fans of this manga, and I would say screw the MC, but the mangaka's probably already drawing that! Degeneracy, convenience, stupidity. Those 3 words perfectly describe this poor excuse of a manga, and anyone that enjoys this has no standards. Want some positives? Art is alright. That's the end of the positives, and we got a whole list of negatives to go through. Let's start with the main character, Noir. Honestly, calling him a character is giving him too much credit. Noir isn't a character. He's a placeholder for the degenerate target audience to imagine themselves in. Just a drawn version of those Reader X character fanfictions. His main appeal isn't being a good guy, cause a guy exploiting women like that definitely isn't, nor is it self-discipline, because he sure as hell didn't earn crap. His main appeal is the idea that you can fantasize being in his position, powerful, surrounded by women that are in love with you. My bad, I meant to say girls. And some of you might say, well, this is the same as people who say so-and-so as characters, literally me. No, let me tell you the key difference between this and that. The difference is those other characters were written to be characters. They had depth, there was some complexity, you could actually feel some weight with them. You can sympathize with them, understand them, sometimes be inspired by them, but they weren't tailor-made for you to fantasize being them. Don't believe me? Take it from the manga's volume covers that don't even include Noir until the 11th volume, and he's not even the center focus. And to make things worse, I know Noir isn't the only main quote-unquote character like this. Too many animes with bland MCs surrounded by even blander side characters. And that brings me to negative number 2, the side characters, or as I like to call them, money bags. No depth, no complexity, no soul, just there to make the MC and target audience hard as a rock! The things they say and do just make no sense. Like I said earlier, what woman would say and do this willingly to a complete stranger? I don't even say stuff like this often, but the mangaka just has no respect for women. He had no intention of making strong, capable women, just meatbags to please the audience. Which brings me to point number 3. Fan service is the story! Brother, the only thing that stops this from being a ecchi hentai is clothes! There's that line that separates anime and ecchi hentais, and this thing decides to be on top of the line. Oh, but Chalupa, he has to gain LP, and fulfilling lustful desires is the fastest way to doing that! Why? Why does it have to be the thing that powers up his abilities? Couldn't think of anything else? Did he have to run an LP? Hell, by the story's own logic, he doesn't have to be anime, did he? He just has to have good memories. Give this power to SpongeBob, Pops, Phineas and Ferb, Wander, they'd be multiversal level threats in a week without needing fan service. But you know what pisses me off the most about all this? The fans. How awful do your standards need to be to give this crap a 4.5 out of 5 stars? It's not like this is a couple reviews either. 41,000 people rated the anime 4.5 out of 5. And the fact I said anime, not manga, just rubs salt in the wound because the anime is objectively worse than the manga. Remember how I was telling you guys about how my sister was watching this and admitted it was trash? Well, she also explained to me how they skipped a whole lot of scenes that give the characters a bit more, well, character. But don't worry, they kept in all the fan service. I then watched a couple episodes to confirm it myself, and oh boy, they sure did. Remember that scene where Emma gives a homeless kid some money? Yeah, that doesn't exist in the anime. A scene that showcases a bit of Emma's personality, letting us see her compassion for the less fortunate. It isn't a whole lot, but hey, it was something. But personality? On my fanservice machine? Can't have that, says the anime studio. And then that episode my sister abandoned the anime on, I checked the anime episode and corresponding manga chapters because she was complaining about how much cut content there was. And boy was she right. In the manga, the art goes like this. There's this freak, who I personally think is the mangaka's self-insert, and he's going after Emma. He and his partner decide to enact this plan at a ball, and while his partner's getting ready, he infiltrates the ball using a magic item to disguise himself, just to get a little closer to Emma. Then, once everyone least expects it, they announce themselves, cause chaos, then kidnap Emma, along with a valuable antique, and everyone scrambles to put a stop to them. The female partner clashes with a couple of fighters, even summons Cerberus before taking off with Emma and the antique. Noir then works together with a girl fighter that's probably gonna join that harem, and they take down the female partner by outsmarting her. Then, the freak uses that magic item to deceive Noir and girl fighter, and takes Emma hostage before he begins to explain his life story. When he acquired that disguising magic item, he became the perfect thief, nobody even knowing who he was. But the fact no one knew who he was killed him, as he wanted his presence to be felt by any means necessary, which is why they always put on a show when they're on the job. Dang, I've been explaining for a while. Anyways, Noir uses his own magic against him, and this causes Emma to be freed. Hooray! Now, as for the anime version, they neutered everything I just said. He never disguises himself as this guy, they don't even take the antique item, only Emma, his partner doesn't fight anyone in the hall or even summon Cerberus. Noir and girl fighting the partner is still there at least, but that backstory and outsmarting? Best we can do is an ass-pull power of love moment. Heck, they didn't even bother to add him simping for Emma before this. The moment he reveals himself to Noir is the moment we're introduced to him. I also almost forgot to mention this, but Girl Fighter and Noir actually met before the ball, but not in the anime. Yeah, they skipped that much. I think you guys get my point though. If skipping scenes butchered great stories like Berserk and The Promised Neverland, what do you think is gonna do to this dumpster fire? Well, weeaboos don't care apparently. 4.5 out of 5! That is ridiculous for an anime this terrible! If you guys couldn't tell by this point, I hate the manga, I really hate the anime, and most of all, the ones who rated this 4.5 out of 5! Reminder, they gave that rating to an anime that has most of its fan service centered around teenagers. Oh, you're just a tourist, you're just a normie. I'll gladly take being called either of those than being a proud PDF file! Anyways, after what has been one of my longest conclusion segments to date, I am very glad to say that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you guys for watching this video in its entirety. If you guys like this video, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you guys haven't already, consider joining the channel membership or Patreon to further support these videos. If you guys have any video suggestions or anything else you'd like me to read, then please leave it in the comments section below. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.